Hey guys. Hey Dimitri.
Hey, how's it going, Mark? Welcome to the Insomnia stream. So today we're going to do something a little different. First, I got to tell you what the Insomnia stream is. So this is a weekly stream that we do here at Kong, run by the Insomnia team. We almost always do things specifically focused on insomnia, but this is something that is owned by the Insomnia team that we're going to talk about today. That's sort of relevant to insomnia. Insomnia uses it, but there are other things that use it too. It's called HTTP Snippet. And we're going to spend probably most or all of the time today talking about HTTP Snippet. And it's good to have Mark here because I'm going to explain. Mark is new to the team. Welcome, Mark. We've been super excited to have you join.
Thank you.
So I'm going to explain to Mark, I think, like what it is. And that will be good because he hasn't seen it before. So maybe it'll be a good introduction for anyone. And then there's a PR. So we'll get to this in a second, I think, but there's a PR open here, and that I guess 4 days ago, and you can see that everything has changed for the most part, and we're going to talk about what this PR is all about and what it's doing and everything like that. So first, I want to start by let's pull up Insomnia here. I want to talk about what Insomnia uses HTTP Snippet for, or like why it's useful. So here's Insomnia, right? Okay, this is actually sometimes I don't know what's gonna come up when I pull up my Insomnia because it's like I'm developing on it, so sometimes there's like crazy things here with like garbled messages. So there's a couple things that Insomnia uses it for. The first is this copy as curl command. So this is a thing that we set up in Insomnia. We wrote some stuff up here. We wrote a body in. I don't know. We have some headers, whatever it is. I can click on this little drop down and I can click copy as curl, and then I get let's editor open here so I can show you why are there three. What? And I can't close them? What? Hot close inactive views. Okay. Be a Linux user. Okay, so right. So this is what happens. This is what was in my clipboard then. Did I add some stuff? Yeah. So I added a query. Okay, see, I told you there's crazy things that I add. So basically, that's the first thing. We use HTTP Snippet to do that functionality to generate the curl command. The second thing is we have this generate code box here, and you can see here we have curl selected, but we could go like HTTP, or is it HTTP? How do you say it, Mark? Are you familiar with this library?
I've never seen this library before, but I would say
How
HTTP.
it's supposed to be said. But you see, we have all these other things, and we have all these other languages. So if you want to, like, I don't know, if you want to convert this to like Go or something, this is like Go new request. There's other things, C sharp, REST sharp. So yeah, basically, and we have copy to clipboard here. So, oh, look at that code I didn't realize that was there. Generated by HTTP Snippet, and then it links to the repo. That's nice. Oh, we have our Dr. Evil board. What was I gonna find? Right. Okay. So the yeah, that's what it's for. So Mark, any questions about that?
So far, it's very clear. Yeah.
Okay, great. So yeah, then from there, we have the like historical bit. So I'm gonna jump now to the PR. So yeah, I'm Dimitri. Okay, I already introduced myself. Kong is an owner of HTTP Snippet, so that's something I think wasn't super clear in the past. And then I'm a geek about our core values at Kong, so I mentioned that. You can ignore me. But basically, what happened is this was an unmaintained project for quite a while. And actually, last week on the stream, we had a problem and with copy as curl, and I forgot because I'm forgetful like that. I forgot that copy as curl was powered by HTTP Snippet, and so we, like we're trying to add some functionality to copy as curl, and we weren't able to do it because it's done via HTTP Snippet. So this happens to us a lot, and I'm not the only person that has had this problem. So, although we also have problems with it, we also have aspirations for how we can like make it better going forward. So, okay, that's great. So then there are some considerations. The first consideration is that as it stood, there were tons and tons, like 600 fixture tests. So the fixture tests are like the input is like the underlying data, and I'll talk about what that underlying data is in a moment. The input is the underlying data for the request, and the output is the like character code point output, like the string. This is considered, you could consider this one string, right?
Mm.
And so we had lots and lots of tests for every single, I'll just bit of terminology here. An HTTP snippet, this is called a target, the thing on the this drop down here. And this thing over here is called a client. So we're at the C# target with the REST sharp client. We have HTTP client. Let's see, there are others. HTTP 1.1 client. So you see how that goes. Yeah, great. So that's the first good thing. And then the second thing is, and we don't talk about this a lot in programming, but I think it's relevant. The domain of the problems that this package serves to solve is finite. There are a limited number of things that you would ever want to do with this package, or that we would see as valuable, and we can do it. Like we can feature complete this thing. Now, always there will be new targets and new clients that people will want to add. That's fine. I'm not actually super concerned about that, because what this, in my mind, this project is just a landing zone, or it's like a jumping off point for being able to create those. You could think of them as plugins, although they're not exactly that, but we want to be able to have a really strong foundation. So, okay, so then I set out to modernize it. It's super duper old. So let's look here. Let's look at some of the history here. So, 7 years ago, a lot of things were done and then not touched. It was touched once 7 months ago, but for the most part, if you look at the commits, there's like not been like Dependabot, I guess. There's not been very much actual work done on this in the last calendar year. So that's kind of an issue, and we're hoping to solve that issue a little more, broadly. So then, okay, what about this PR? So this is going to be a major release PR. There's some other stuff that I didn't do in this PR that I'd like to do, like GitHub CI, some fixing with the Docker files, having just report line coverage. So that's like going to come, I think, later. But right now, the key thing is that these fixture tests are the same. And that's very important, because that gives us a lot of assurance that the functionality hasn't shifted. At least if it's shifted, it hasn't shifted much. There may be edge. I'm sure there might be an edge case or somewhere, some option pass that wasn't well tested before that has changed. It's possible, but we know that the core functionality of what it broadly does is the same. Then there's a CLI as well. We'll talk about the CLI probably last. And that CLI can be used to just convert things like on the fly. And that's what this is a screenshot of, is showing like what the CLI looks like. I made a to-do.txt file, and we're going to look at that in a second, just to talk about some of those things before we really dig in. And I wrote a little note about how to review this. So I put like, here's Git Kraken. It goes off the page. I mean, there are tons and tons of commits and changes, and I tried to do things like atomic commit ish, but it doesn't always work out that way. So that works for me, but so much, I mean, literally everything changed, so it's not really worth it to go commit by commit. You should just basically look at it as a fresh new repo. I invited some people to take a look. At the time I wrote this, it was late on a Friday evening, and I could smell a pizza downstairs. So then I stopped typing. So this is the first review. Any questions on that stuff? I'll do a quick tour of the code base if not.
So far, so good.
Sounds okay. Good so far. So this is the to-do txt, convert to GitHub Actions, have Docker files. There was this debug package. Let's look at that. Maybe we can look at that today. npm.org, is it? Okay. Well, that's National Association of Pastoral Musicians. That's interesting. What is this?
Maybe npm.js.
Not the npm I was looking for. Okay. Debug. The lightweight debugging utility for Node.js. Let's make this bigger. So this is this is a Okay, this is something that you can kind of like turn. Okay, debug. You have debug lines, great. And HTTP is probably just an argument. So this returns a default a function, and then HTTP returns an argument, and then okay, worker A. Okay, yeah, worker A. I remember this is like super old fashioned type of way to do things, but that's fine. So they're logging with A, they're logging with B, work B, and then you probably control it with an environment variable. So this is something that I took away that it used to have that it doesn't have now. I'm not sure how useful it is, but we can go back to it. That's that. CLI and CI tests. I did move from Yargs to Commander. Okay, cool. I have to completely redo the README. We won't do that today. Prettier. This came up in the comments. Prettier for JS. We'll talk about that when we read through the comment. Add an option to curl for minifying JSON bodies. This is the thing that I was telling you about. We were trying to do in Insomnia. So node support. This was in a comment. We'll talk about it then. There were names for some of the targets, and one of them changed from it used to be 1.1. So the client was HTTP, and the target was 1.1. I can understand why that was done, but I'm actually using the names like I need them to be sort of similar to variable naming conventions. So they start with I can take out like known characters like periods, but I changed that so it starts with a H, starts with a character. Formatter strings. So this is a big thing in the code in the past. We'll look at some ABE comparisons of like what it used to look like, but they were using these like %s substitutions that were from like yonder year. This code base was before template strings were in JavaScript. And so they were doing a lot of string concatenation, string manipulation, like templating stuff that we just really don't have to do anymore. There was a dot train type of thing. So, they would say like HTTP snippet dot push dot blank dot push, and you don't need to do that anymore. You can just put every single statement on its own line. It's not just my opinion. I think about like my tastes about reasoning for changing this. There's also I saw some bugs where I think there were behaviors that were really confusing regarding indentation, because actually the second argument to all of these functions is an indentation, and it can get a little complicated. Okay, the JavaScript target will be ES6 code, so I think that's pretty standard practice at this point in history. That saves us from having to polyfill a bunch of things and do a bunch of magic to get ES3 capabilities. And of course, if people want ES3 capabilities, they can webpack it themselves or whatever. Some people do. And then HTTP snippet is no longer the default export. It's now a named export. Okay. Any questions on all that stuff? Any thoughts?
Not so far. Sounds like a really clean explanation here. The code that push.
Let's do that.
Yeah, I'm just curious. Like,
yeah, let's do it. That's great. Let's find a target to compare. So before the targets, so I also changed like where things were organized so they're in one place. But before you go to source, then targets, then like I don't know, pick one that you'd like to see. Or do Java? I don't know.
let's do JavaScript.
Okay, JavaScript. And then let's do like Axios. Okay. So before, is this not going to? Yeah. Okay. So before, what would happen is this. So let's put this on the left side, and then let's open up the code for Axios JavaScript on the right side. Java. So here's what was happening before. Like basically you had code.push and then a function call and then no semicolon and then dot push again, dot push, dot push, dot push. And you see here we have code.push dot blank. But over here we have push and blank. We just call them. And this is actually kind of good because it mirrors it pushes things like in a top to bottom sort of manner, and it forces you to see like what the code is in line. But the other side of the coin is I also moved the arguments around. So before there was an optional so I don't believe in optional like order of arguments. So look at the API before. This one has this one has two arguments. It's so confusing. Okay. This one has two arguments. The first is this string here. Do you see that? And then the second is this string here. Do you know what this is doing? Do you have any idea? So this is going to take this stuff and stick it in here where there's this %s. As far as I can tell, there's absolutely no reason to do this. Like, it doesn't make any sense to me anyway. Like, why you need to, like, why wouldn't you just write catch function? You know, like, why wouldn't you just write it out with regular characters or whatever, right? So that's a little strange. And then the other thing is, so that's with just strings. But the other thing is, you could, what do you think this does? I'm just going to ask you, Mark, what do you think this line does? If you have to guess. Let's see.
$1 million.
That'll be the price if you get it right. Are you muted? Oh, you're muted.
Sorry, yeah, I was muted.
Okay.
It looks like maybe it's doing something inside the end block to, console log the response data.
No, this is
No?
indentation. This is saying indent this line one level.
Okay, that's
Right. It's not very yeah, it's I think it's not like super obvious exactly what's happening there. Let me see if I can find the code builder. This is a good thing for us to look at, actually. Builder, yeah. So before, let's make this full screen. So this .code.push, where is it? Build line. Like, do you see this build line function here? Okay, all of this. Oops, if I go back, I didn't mean to go back. What's happening? Is it called? Oh, we're in Axios. Why did we get in Axios? What did I hit? Okay, anyway, this build line function here, I'm going to make it a little smaller. Called, yeah, build line. What did I call it? Oh, I changed it to I called it indent line. Okay, this indent line function, where are we? Sorry. This indent line function here does exactly the same thing as this. So basically, there was some mumbo jumbo going on to get there's this calling util.format, which is a node library to do that's the %s thing. It had this. See, this was a thing that was super common back when with JavaScript, like 10 years ago or so, and up until like maybe 6 years ago. You would have like a overloaded optional argument structure, so that if you if you just pass a string, it'll do one thing. If you pass a number and then a string, it'll do a different thing. And if you pass a number and then a string and then other strings, it'll do a different thing. What's not listed here is the one we just saw, which is that if you pass multiple strings, it'll do yet other things by looking at the arguments, So see here, it's slicing up the arguments. Like, this is a, function keyword. We don't need to do any of that stuff. We have evolved. All we, as a world, we have learned from our mistakes. All we need to do is have the string that you're going to put on and the indentation level. And then we take our indentation character, which was given when we created the code builder, and we repeat it that whatever number of times defaulted to 0. And then we can concatenate the two together and return them.
I see.
That's all it is. It's very simple. Unshift adds a line at the beginning. Push adds a line at the end. Look, I mean, it's really simple. There's a line and then an optional indentation level. Let's get this full screen and make this bigger. There's a line and an option, that's the string that you're going to push, and then an optional indentation level. We pass that to the indent line function that we just did, and then code is an array of strings, and we just push it.
I see.
Yeah.
I see.
And blank pushes an empty string. And then join calls, array.join on all the line things, on all of the lines in the array,
Hmm.
using the join character that we told it to.
I see. I see. I see.
That's it. That's the whole code builder. It's really like there's really not much to it. I mean, it's lines of code, but before, I mean, there's a lot of stuff that was happening, and there weren't classes before, so they're doing like, you have to do code builder.prototype.push equals and all this other stuff. So, yeah, much simpler. So that's the first thing, and then the main file in this project is this one HTTP snippet. I'm going to make this a little smaller, but yeah, basically what we do is, so I told you I would talk about what the input is. So for HTTP snippet, they use this thing called the Har format. Let's see if I find it on Wikipedia. So the Har format is a JSON format archive file for logging a web browser's interaction with a site. So commonly with the .har extension. So this is a standardized like format. It has a spec. We can look at the spec. It has JSON schema. It has TypeScript types that people have made from the spec. So it's a pretty useful thing and pretty standard. So HTTP snippet takes a Har request when you construct. Let's just go to the. It should be kind of self-documented. When you construct an HTTP snippet, you take a Har entry or a Har request. A Har entry is simply a log file format that wraps multiple requests. In fact, do I use entry anywhere else? If I rename this to, if I just do like entry F, are there other errors? Oh yeah. Okay. So, because I could have inlined this if I didn't. Anyway, this is an entry array, so it's a Har request array here, and then we have like version, creator, name, whatever. So that's a way that you can do multiple. You can create a Har archive for multiple Har requests. They could have just used an array, JSON array, but they created this like log format where you can add a little extra stuff, a tiny bit of metadata on top. So anyway, that's the input, and then the output is here. So the output is a Har request plus this stuff. So the function, one of the utilities of the library is to add in, like we have full URL, query object, headers object, URI object, cookies object, all headers. So these are things that are kind of appended to the Har request in a bit of a dirty way, but it works for what it is. And then, let's look at a usage. Okay, so here is the Axios client that we were looking at a second ago. This has a type, and the type requires that it has some info about it, like what the key is, the title, the link, and the description. So this is like metadata that HTTP snippet uses, and that shows up like in various places, like that metadata. Let's do generate code. Like that's what we use. Like we go to JavaScript, and then like Axios with a capital A, like that comes from this title, for example.
I see.
Okay. But then the second thing, and that's all there is to it, the second thing that you get is this convert object. Now the convert, let's go to this type because it'll show you what it gets. The convert so that's client info. We talked about what that is. That's these things, all required. And then this converter function. A converter function is a function that has as a first argument a request, which is a concatenation of it's like basically the HTTP snippet request. Like it has the request extras, and I had to do some magic because there's some stupid thing with the types. So don't ignore this with post data, but because there's like an npm for Har request, and they have some way of doing things that's not very ergonomic, so I have to fix it. But it's basically like the total source object with all the extras added in. And then the second thing we have is options. So it's possible to pass options to these converters if you want them to do specific things. Right. We don't expose that functionality in Insomnia, but like, for example, with the easiest example is like with curl.
Right.
These are the long forms like request, URL, header, data. But there's also like, I don't know, /, -d instead of dash data.
Hmm.
So if people want, you can send options into HTTP snippet to be able to get those things to show up.
I
So
see.
then look at this convert function. All it returns is a string, no data structure, just a string.
Mhm.
So it's a very simple function. It takes this input and it returns the final output. So all of the things that you need to do then are for any given target or client rather are in here. So this is a targets file. Okay, so this is where we like collect all the targets. So let's go back. So here's our convert function. The first argument, like we said, that's this stuff, and I just destructured it out, is all of the stuff that comes from the HTTP snippet when it ingests the Har.
Hmm.
So like, is there a test? I wonder if there's a test for just let's look at the fixture tests in a minute. But so basically we have all headers, is whatever it is, method, URL. We have these things that come from HTTP snippet. We have some options. So this one doesn't have any custom options, but sometimes there are custom options, and you can pass that as a generic to the client, and then they'll show up here automatically. Then we call code builder. So that's the thing that we saw before that allows us to build up our lines.
Mhm.
Code builder has blank, push, and join. So we start right off the gate, import Axios from Axios. So now we're moving.
Right.
And then we start doing some things. We start building up some objects. And before long, we're pushing lines of code. So if we see that it's multi-part form data, then we're pushing some code related to form data stuff. If we see Axios passing Axios options, and we stringify the request options to get those things to pass in.
Mhm.
We do some stuff. This one's pretty simple because we're just making like a simple request, and the options are really straightforward.
Right.
And then we join. Then we're done. And that's how we get this. Let's go back to JavaScript Axios. Like that's how we get this thing. This is that options object we built up.
Nice.
My params here, and then this is the thing at the end. Any thoughts or questions on that?
That's really cool, and I really like that you cleaned up a lot of things. Just one question, more like not a question, but more like my observation is that so we we converted the builder object into uh, a class that returns methods.
Like push and blank and join. Yeah.
Okay, I see. Um, cool.
So the code builder doesn't really know what it's building.
Right.
It's just a fancy wrapper around like string concatenation that like the reason to have I thought for a second, like, do we even need the code builder at all? Can we just use a string array inside everything?
Mm.
The reason it's nice to have it is because it gives you this indentation functionality.
Right.
So this isn't saying one space, this is saying one indentation level. And we set up above what the indentation is. So the indentation level is 2 spaces.
Mhm.
So if we pass 2 as a argument to push, like if we pass 2 here, it would put like 1, 2, 3, 4. It would put 4 spaces in front because 2 times the number of the indent.
I see.
And that actually becomes important because there are places in the code where we do like we do tab indent, for example, or we do CRLF. Let's do options, or we allow it to be configurable. I don't know what it is, but there's some. Yeah, do you know about this? There's some reason that like people use an @ symbol for indenting for like commands.
Wow,
What that
I
is?
didn't know that.
Why
Wow.
is that useful? What does that mean?
I don't know.
Oh, you don't know. You said okay. Yeah, well, I don't know either. So, but anyway, clear. I've seen it before. I've just never really cared. But anyway, that's what that is.
Mm.
And yeah, HTTP snippet, like the constructor, like it does this prepare step where it loops through everything and passes back like the full object that you need that has all the stuff. And that's where a lot of the work is done in this. Like 80% of the work, like the broad work for this project is in this file, this HTTP snippet file, which it's not that long. But there are things in here that need fixing, and I didn't fix them. I tried really hard not to fix any. Like There's this one where we have like a forced multi-part boundary that it has like it's forced to this specific string, which is an Easter egg that somebody I added this part. This is binary for API. I mean, that's cute and everything, but it actually there are use cases where you need to allow the input to set the boundary, and it doesn't work with HTTP snippet if you do that, and that's kind of an issue. So, well, whatever, one way or the other. Yeah, that's it. So I wanted to spend half an hour, and we just hit it talking about the architecture. There's a little more to it, but that's basically it. I mean, I want to give you an overview here of how things are organized. Actually, there is one more thing we just have to talk about, which is how the fixture tests work.
Right. Yeah.
So this is the project. Let me make this like really big. This is the project structure on the left here. So we have source, and then inside of source is helpers, which are like util functions and things specific to this library. We have fixtures, which this fixtures / requests contains Har format fixture requests. So we can see here, like, here's one that's called full, and this gets used in a lot of tests, and it has like a query string, which are these key value pair thingies. It has some headers, which are also like name value pair things. Cookies, same sort of format. Notice trend, params inside of post data, and then, so it has some stuff. It has a URL. The URL has a certain format. It contains the protocol, all that kind of thing. It has an HTTP version. So then we have, I have some tests for custom targets. There's more HTTP requests, custom fixtures. So there's two files I need to show you. The first is, where is it? It's called fixtures and targets, I think. Test. Really? Oh, sorry, targets. Targets.test.ts. So this is a super important file in this project. So basically, what it does is it sets up like a general ability of any particular target to create fixtures against those base fixtures that I showed you before. We were looking at that one full.json. So there's a list in there. Let's look at this of like, how many do I get a count somewhere of how many files this is? Whatever this is, 20 files, 15 files. In every single client, there are fixtures matching all of those ones. So we see we have full.swift. Full.swift is what happens when you take full.json's Har format and pass it through the Swift formatter for NSURL session client. Right? And this is generated automatically. There's no code like, I'll get to the client test for that client, but those tests are generated and checked automatically. And so that's what this does. This is looking at all available. So there's a function for listing all available targets. So we have that. Then we filter them based on, so there's these filter lines throughout here. And basically what it is it's filtering. It's just a convenience thing. If you want to just look at node fixtures, or you want to just look at Unirest or Axios or whatever, or if you want to look at a particular fixture test, which like there's one called multi-part file, for example, you can uncomment these lines and add what you want, and it will only generate tests for those things while you're debugging. But for the most part, they'll usually be commented out. It's there just to help people. So that's what these filter lines are for. So we can sort of forget about these. Then we're for eaching through all the available targets. We're creating test suites for each target. Then we're creating, if we go down here, we're creating client tests for each client. We see here like client ID request should match fixture 4, and then we have the fixture name.json. From here, like, it's really, really simple. Like we do, I'm going to start up Wallaby. I use this tool called Wallaby quite extensively, and it's super useful in this project. So we use, we call HTTP, thank you, Wallaby. We call HTTP snippet with new. We pass it in the original request, the Har request. Right. And then from that, we get out a convert function. The convert function can convert any target or client, but we tell it we want this target and this client. And then it gives us a result. and then we expect that result to be equal strictly to the string of the file that we read from disk. So this is from these things. So 3 lines of code is all you need, and then you can get basically you can get the string that you want to test against, and we do the handling. I try to make it a little easier for people, and I left a long message for saying like what happens if they're missing a file.
Mm-hmm.
That's basically the process. So then you might be asking, okay, well, I'm sorry I'm going fast. I'm not really giving you a chance to talk, but I want to get to the review. I want to try to get to the review feedback, but maybe it's not bad to have like a video that is an overview of what HTTP Snippet is.
It's good, yeah.
Then you'd say, okay, what if you want to write? So that's cool for the pre-built fixture tests that every target and every client has to have tests for.
Mm-hmm.
But what if I want to, make something more specific, or I have some specific option that I want to test? So this has like timeout is an option that you can pass to this client, and it does whatever it does. It does something with timeout.
Mm-hmm.
What we do here is I have this thing called run custom fixtures, and this is very similar. It's something that generates tests in a very, very, very similar fashion.
Mm-hmm.
And all you have to do is you pass it this structure here for tests, and you give it a title, and you say you have an input. You can pass one raw here, or you can just use almost all of these already used some of the other fixtures, because really what they're testing is what happens when you set an option.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have the name for the fixture file. So this one is called indent option Swift. So indent option Swift is like, there's no indent option dot Ruby or something, or whatever the Ruby extension is. This is just specific. This fixture here is only for Swift. And what happens is this is testing the intended output when we have a different indentation. So this is, let's take a look, indent option. So this is with 4 indents. And then if we look at the one with this is for short. So let's look at short. So we can switch back and forth between short and indent option, and we'll see that it's the same thing. It's just passing different. Where are we here? It's so hard to use code editors when things are this big. But anyway, it's just passing. If we go back and forth, you'll see that it's just changing the indent level. And that's what this one tested. So everything else is the same because it's the same input Har format. So if you want to write a input test like that, then all you really need to do is have this run custom fixtures. This is the only thing in this file, right? It's just this function call. You tell it the target, you tell it the client that you want to test for, and then you do this. And then when Jest goes and runs tests, it's going to do this stuff automatically, passing in your options. So there's no boilerplate to run, because this is like super duper common. This run custom fixtures thing is used a lot in the project. There's a couple places where there are custom fixtures. I want to highlight that what happened before to do this, like, was really, I mean, I don't want to get too stuck in the past, but it's hard not to show how bad this was. If you wanted to write a fixture test, here's an example of what you would do. Ready? Like, here's one. This is a fixture for, like, let's do the indent option one we were just doing. Should support indent option. So what they did is they would set up, look how there's much duplication there is. They would set up the same thing exactly every time, just changing, the actual thing here, the request, and changing some options. And then look at this nastiness. It's so bad. This is saying replace all new lines globally with nothing. So they're taking out new lines. And if you look here, you see that these are really long strings that contain the data for that particular text.
I see.
That's like super rough to work with. It's a very bad user experience in my opinion. I don't know why. I would love to know if somebody can tell me, but I don't know why it was done this way in the past. But for better or for worse, this is the way that it was. And that's not like that anymore. This thing is now its own separate file. This is indent option. So this thing was the same before. They effectively took all new lines and removed them, so it looked like this. Okay, so that's that. Okay. Any questions about like overall architecture? So everything is co-located is the point I was just trying to make there. So if you want to do a Kotlin client, all of your custom fixtures and all of the out of the box fixtures are in the same place. The tests are in the same place. You don't have to go anywhere else in the project. Before they were in like literally 3 different places. The tests were in one place, the custom ones. The fixture tests were in a completely different place, and the source code itself was in yet another place. And that's what. Any thoughts in general before we get into the feedback on the review?
It's really cool. I guess you revamped this project with
Thanks.
some new new patterns and new ideas. That's really cool. It's my first time to be on the stream like in my life, so I'm a little bit careful, and also I'll be more listening this time than talking because
Sure.
it's my first time. So
It's all good.
yeah,
Yeah.
but it looks really good. Yeah.
Thanks, man. Okay, cool. So let's get into the. Is there a Dr. Evil thing here?
Not even a hot pocket.
So there was a review left here. I want to talk about some of these reviews. Some review feedback. Okay, so the first one here is, for what it's worth, we looked at the at README. What is this? Oh, is this where this person works? Maybe. Does it say? If it doesn't, README. Yeah. Okay. So he's saying, at my place of employment, we looked into this. At the cost of including prettier and bundles is too high. It's prohibitively expensive. Okay, that makes sense. So what I was saying was, what I would love to do is I would love to use prettier for formatting the outputs and then testing against that, so that we can make sure that the outputs that we're generating match standard, like prettier formatting. I kind of hate prettier, by the way. I have never appreciated prettier the ways others seem to appreciate it. But I know, but that's not what being a team player is all about. This project does use prettier. I set it up begrudgingly, but you know, it is what it is, and people are used to it. And this is, it's not the Dimitri show here, so I'm not afraid of incorporating prettier. And I would actually like to use it for this because it's something. The nice thing about prettier for a library like this is that if people have a problem with how we chose to do things, we can say, well, wasn't our choice. That's what prettier does. Go argue with them. And if you go argue with prettier, basically nothing will ever happen because they're not going to change. They do from time to time. They have once changed things for their 2.0 release. So, yep, that sounds right. Maybe if nothing else, we can have like here. So yeah, maybe if nothing else, we can have a dev dependency internally in our own test suite that we can make sure that the strings we're generating happen to match prettier formatting, but that we're not including prettier in the bundle. Somebody commented here on where would this be from? On Twitch. This looks to be Speakeasy V5. This looks to be an issue about resulting bundle size, though. Maybe. Yeah, exactly. Yep, exactly. He said, there you go. Sorry if there's like a delay. There's I think like a 5 or 10 second delay. So thanks for chiming in. Yeah, I think we're gonna probably do that. And then as long as the resulting output happens to match what prettier would have done anyway, then it's as if we wrote prettier, because this is like, you know, input, output, pure functional strings. So I'll keep that in mind in the future. Let me add that to the to-do. Perhaps, oh, I think I have a thing for prettier. Prettier. But as a dev, only to not, it would never, yeah, it would just be in the test side of the code base, but never anywhere else. Okay, great. What's the reasoning for supporting Node 14? This was a mistake, I think. The reasoning is I'm like an update your shit evangelist, and I sometimes get pushy about that, and this leaked out. So This needs to be fixed. It's not appropriate for this to be less than 14. Well, we can meet in the middle. Node LTS. What is the current LTS like dot
16.
version of 14?
Okay, sorry.
14.19. Okay, so we're gonna say like 14.19. Current LTS. 14, like not well-known fact, but like 14.2 is not supported. There are CVEs in 14.2, so we're not going to support that. But major, like everyone can stay within the like recent major version. I like pushing people when I make libraries. I always try to nudge people a little bit because I think it's helpful if we stay abreast of things changing in the world. But yeah. I need to like study this board so I know exactly.
Evil
What.
laugh.
Huh? Evil laugh. Where's that one?
Dr. Evil.
Okay. So very nice. Yep. 14.19. Okay. So I need to remember to change that because I'm not going to resolve this because that does need to change. I think I put it in like 16. Yeah, I put it in the package JSON. I'm not going to do that right this moment on the stream. I don't think this fixture is used anywhere. Oh, interesting. REST method fixtures. REST method echo. Oh, where did this come from then? Well, let's take a look. Targets. It would be in. Oh yeah, right. I was in the right spot. Test targets. Is REST method is PowerShell. Maybe I forgot something. It's nothing. It's nowhere. So where did it get added? Okay, so then we have to go to a completely separate place. Fixtures. Is it requests or output? I can never ever remember. I think it's output. Yeah. PowerShell, request method, echo. What? Where did it come from? Okay, let's just do a full search here. What? Where did this file come from? Okay. What? That's pretty spooky. Oh, you know what? I know what this is. I'm not even going to comment. I'm just a dingus. I was trying to like echo some. I was doing some sed script thing. Okay, so the one thing that was really tough about these fixtures is that Prettier came like busted through, or actually Git has a functionality in it for Windows compatibility where it will take all CRLF, clear like Windows line formatting and endings and change them to LF if you're on Linux, and I'm on Linux. And if you're on Windows, it'll do the reverse. It'll take all CRLF or all LF line endings and change them to CRLF. The issue with that is line add cursor line ends. No, line and I must have removed it. I had an extension that I used. The issue with that is, and this is a first in my career, it's very rare that you actually need to have both. I've never seen a situation where you need to have both CRLF and LF. But actually, these fixtures contain those examples for raw HTTP because for compatibility reasons and yada, 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 in the past, it's all 20 years ago, 30 years ago, whatever. HTTP spec specifies that CRLF are used to separate lines of the headers, and then an extra CRLF here to before the body, and then the body contains can contain LF, but it can also contain escaped CRLFs and other things. That means that this file, like, watch this. If I save this file right now, if I make a change, or like, let's just make a change, and then I save it, probably going to show up here. No, it's not going to show up here. What? Okay, application JSON. Oh, I'm sorry, because I exempted these files out later. Okay, so I did something in the git ignore that let's get this stuff away from here. Git attributes. So I created a special rule for these fixtures that tells Git to treat them as text, which means it won't munge, like it won't play around with the lines. That's what that is. Yep, I deleted it. Great catch. I would never have caught that. So thank you, John, for catching that. Okay, this one. If you change this to JavaScript, you shouldn't need to cast the object as unknown. So the problem with that is let's go here, custom target. The problem with that is that the way that I did these targets is that it's a target info has a key of target ID, and target ID is a key of targets. So like literally it knows in advance, and from a TypeScript perspective, this is okay because if you use a client, you're gonna be forcing it anyway because the client has a cast. I'm being vague, but there's an add target function. Let's find it. Where is it? Add target, add client, and yeah, the add target and add thing here is gonna catch that. So there's like, look at all these tests here. It's gonna catch making sure that it doesn't have a duplicate. Also, is what a thing that it wasn't testing before. So I added a couple things in here, like a couple checks, but it's gonna basically add the new target to the targets list at runtime. This test is creating a test. Like if I did, yeah, it's true that if I fixed this to JavaScript, it would solve the type error, but actually the type error is right. Like what I could do is I could write a thing here. We could say like JS variant, and then, yeah, maybe I should do this. Like let's do target custom target equals string, or I'm sorry, this is extends string. Actually, we want to do equals. See, gets weird because then I don't want to have a situation where someone needs to put it in that they didn't. But let's just see what this would look like real quick. It was target and extend string.
You have a
Yeah.
yeah.
And then, oops, I need to put another, and then target ID, and I guess it would be or target, and this is going to create other errors. So this is going to say like property does not exist in target. I think I went through this before, and I decided like I don't want there to be, because this is defaulting to something, like I don't want it to be mandatory, but I don't have a default with which to put it in. So like then that means that anytime anybody uses target, they're going to have to specify that could be okay. Like let's find a real life example. So like Python here, so that I would need to say like Python. It's just nice if it can infer it, and it can infer it if I do it the way that it was being done. So that's the reason. But I'm open to feedback. If anyone has suggestions on like a way to do this that's nicer, I wouldn't mind hearing it. I don't know if it's really going to be a big value add. It's kind of nice, like makes it easier if you can just use use it as is. This is the line that it's angry about, because it knows statically what the targets are, because it looked at this object and it looked at the keys of this JavaScript object and said, hey, this doesn't match these keys.
And that is just for the fixture.
Yep, this is just for a fixture test. This is not. This is testing. Like this is for tests regarding adding custom targets. Okay, so I'll respond to that in more depth later. So okay, APIs have changed slightly. With the new add target on the main entry point. Oh, interesting. Not really. They really, I see why. I see what's happening, but HTTP snippet was the name of a. So before you had HTTP snippet. So okay, let me like make a new file. You had require fire or like yeah, const HTTP snippet equals require snippet. Okay, and then you would do like code new HTTP snippet, and then you would pass in some stuff in here, and then you could also do HTTP snippet dot some function, and then you could call that, and you could pass some other thing in here. That's before. Now you do import HTTP snippet and from HTTP snippet, and then you can do const snippet. You can do that. But then if you want to do some function, you get it from here. You see, and the reality is that this part didn't change, because what changed was actually this. Like if you want to make them equivalent, you could do this. You could do export star as HTTP snippet, and then you would have to say HTTP snippet dot HTTP snippet, and then here it would be the same as it was before. So I hear the feedback, like I get what the point is, but it's not. I mean, it's not exactly. This part is not exactly different. It's just that because this changed, and that I did call out. I mean, I did call out that it's no longer a default export. Like really, what we did is we dropped this thing down a level, this one down a level, as a named export. And that has the effect of making it feel like, because it felt like this was like a method on a class or something, but I mean, it wasn't. It was just a function that was exported. It didn't have anything to do with the class. In fact, it was in the same file, and I moved it from that file in the past. So yeah, there's that. So okay, I'll respond about that. Maybe I'll just link to this video. It's easier to do that. So I'll wait until the video's up and I'll do it. Okay, thoughts on renaming it to Jesty. It to be more Jesty. So this is in Custom Fixtures. We can't is the answer. Let me show you. So the feedback is, and it's a good one. Where is it? Runs Custom Fixtures. Hey, in this type here, what if we rename this to it? Because then it's going to be like it's a nicer API. It is a nicer API, and I wanted to do that. But we creates a different problem. Let's find a thing that has like a client. Actually, I think we do this. Run custom. Okay, so then instead of title, we would say it, right? So that's good. That's all good and well. But then here we would have an issue that I think would get confusing. Or I thought, maybe I'm wrong. I thought it would get confusing where I would have to say it like title. And then everything would work. So there's two its here. There's the it, the global, and then there's the it that comes from this thing that I have to rename to title. And I thought that would be confusing. I don't know, Mark. What do you think? Which API?
Confusing. I find it confusing too.
Well, I mean, now that I'm looking at it, the idea is that like this makes it really clear. This is easier for the end user, and and the way that I had it before is easier for the person looking at this file. Actually, I don't kind of want people to look at it. I mean, you can read it, but you know what? I think we should change this. I think I'll change this. I'll rename them all. In fact, TypeScript should be able to do it for me. Let's see if it will. Let's fix this. Let's commit what we have just to do it. Whip. I'll come back and rename these later. And then did it there. And then all of these got changed. They all got changed. We've never run the tests. We're like out of time. I didn't even, wow, look at the time. Do we have another meeting after this? This is going, time flies when you're having fun. We do have another meeting on the Insomnia team. We have a triage meeting. Okay. Well, let's wrap this up. So let's run the tests. Just a yarn test. Great, they all passed. And let's actually run it verbose, so I can show you kind of like what different things are that it runs. There's all the list. Is it like more than 1,000 lines? No, it's not. Okay, good. So here we are. We have the code builder tests, some helper function tests, blah, blah, blah. Then we have, see, these are going through all the custom fixture tests. Custom fixtures 4. This was happening before. There's exactly two tests for one client for this closure HTTP client that were missing in the past. There's like a bug with them, and I didn't fix that. It was exempted out in the past as well. Then we get into these. These are like the custom like validation tests, running all of those. So everything works, and it renames. Yep, I think that's good feedback, and it makes it really. It should not use coerce. Yeah, I think it's better that way. It does add some weird shadowing stuff in the file, but like if it comes at the expense of making it easier for end users, and then that's going to be where we're going to have to stop for today. I'm gonna. I don't think we're going to probably look at this again on the stream. Let's try to. Here, I always like to put the commit that I changed something. That way, people can tell me if like, no, you didn't actually fix it. On Speakeasy V5 on Twitch said I would optimize dev experience as opposed to internal details too. Yep. Upon being confronted with that reality, I agree. This is great. Code Builder, it's no longer using the util thing. This was actually not a goal of mine. I didn't think about bundle size, and I don't frankly care about bundle size that much. I just hated the complexity that it added with those %s strings, and there was a couple %ds throughout the project too, which are weird. But I'm really happy. I'm super duper happy that module is gone now. This is some things specific to form. We're getting into TypeScript errors. Want to move this to the top? Yeah, probably. I don't know why it's... Oh, it's like the sort order of the things. Yep, probably should. What's the error here? A type error on this line is strange. Yeah, it's because... Yeah, I agree that it's strange. For whatever reason, and they really were using this, the client for HTTP, for shell curl, allows shell curl client test. It allows for indents that are strings, and it also allowed for indents that are numbers. And this was like, did we get the right thing? Curl client. Yeah, it also allowed for, I don't know, it allowed for both is what it basically comes down to. And this got a little tricky because it's going to say, if I take this off here, it's going to say, hey, wait a second, string and Boolean have, it allowed for Booleans. That's right, not for numbers. It allowed for Booleans. So we do indent, moving too fast because we're out of time. So it said it allows for indent false. Womp womp. It would be nice if it just didn't allow that, but it does allow that, and somehow we have to tell TypeScript about that. And the thing is that I, as a nicety, I did some magic with TypeScript where I allowed it to understand that there are default options that are always available to every client. Because they get passed to Code Builder, and one of those is indent. But it's saying, hey, you told me indent's always going to be a string, but then there's this other thing saying it could be a string or a Boolean. That doesn't make sense. And I'm like, yeah, you're right. It doesn't make sense, but I have to just ignore it for now. I'm sure there is a solution, but that's a specific thing to that one. Really weird. Yeah. One of the things that I think almost none of these clients were written with the knowledge of is that it is possible, if you use the log format that we saw in the very beginning, it is possible for these things to get an array of requests. And that means that for a lot, I'm sorry, not just requests, but an array of parameters, not just a string. And there's a lot of functionality deep, dark inside of HTTP Snippet to allow for this. And I don't think that anybody wrote any of these targets with that in mind. Like, they're treating things as though they're calling method. This will fail. I mean, they're calling methods that will create runtime type errors if you get something that has a different format. and I don't know. I need to look into that more. But I didn't want to change that because the point of this particular project is not to do bug fixes today. But if we uncover them, that's cool. Sorry about this. This is the thingamajig we were looking at before. Don't be sorry. I have made many findings, and this is probably the worst one. But there were others that were really bad and were very fixable. This one just happened to not be super easy to fix, but we'll get there. I don't think anyone has responsibility if that's what you're saying. So, yeah. Well, anyway, that's the woo. A lot of talking. I need
That was a lot.
a lot of water. Well, thank you for coming, everyone. Sorry for going a few minutes over, but hopefully this was helpful. I guess I'll probably post this somewhere in the README maybe of HTTP Snippet until the day comes that we do another one that we explain what the project is. And, you know, or at least I'll post the first part, the first clip of this talk, you know, walking through it. And then maybe in the future, we can do this in a couple months again when things are better. I have a lot of aspirations for things I want to fix, like that AP, like the API for the binary thing for the boundary. But also, I want to add more clients. I would love to have a Rust client. I would love to have a couple other things, and I would love to modernize the code a little bit. Oops. So anyway, Mark, thank you for joining. It was very helpful to have a sounding board. And yeah, I'll see everyone next time. Let's go.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was really helpful for me to gain better context. Thank you.
Cool. See everyone. Bye.